Let me tell you a bit about CCBA, so it gives you a bit of more context of who we are, and it can create then a clear certainty in your mind. Many people confuse Coca-Cola Beverages Africa with the Coca-Cola company. And although we're part of the Coca-Cola system, we are a completely independent business from the Coca-Cola company, and we are a local business that's locally led, that's locally staffed, and source most of our ingredients from our countries where we operate in. So we are purely local bred and a purely African originated business. We have about 28 expats in our business out of 17,500 employees we have across Africa. So a purely African organization which is selling international brands, which we're privileged to have the Coca-Cola brands in our portfolio. Whatever we do, our biggest aim is to create a better opportunity and share opportunities across our continent and across the markets in which we operate. CCBA is the 8th largest bottler by revenue in the globe, and we sell about 40% plus of the Coca-Cola beverages on the continent of Africa. We have 42 bottling plants across our countries. Each of our countries have its own bottling plant, and each of these bottling plants is staffed locally and source products and raw material ingredients locally to support our value chain. We operate in 15 markets across Africa, and we service on a daily basis about plus minus 680,000 active outlets that we go and visit and sell our products to on a day-to-day basis as part of our footprint. CCBA is a commercial enterprise, and making profit is obviously crucial for us. But we also made a deep commitment that we want to make the continent a better place for all. And by doing that, we want to create shared opportunities across our value chain and in the communities where we operate. So we proudly say we are a business with conscience, and we're doing business the right way. And by doing that, we are developing better ways to distribute, manufacture, and sell our products across our footprint. And lately, we have experienced macroeconomic challenges and headwinds like most companies across the globe. We're faced with slow growing or sluggish economies where we operate, and enormous cost increases that happened recently. And you would recall local inflation, commodity inflation, sugar taxes, and then enormous currency devaluation that we experience in all of our markets. Despite these challenges, we continue to look for opportunity to grow our business, and also providing support to sustainable economic growth in the markets we operate, and putting the environment in front of our center of everything we're doing. As you know, the African consumer is under pressure as well, and we're very well aware of that most of the daily disposable income is spent on food, and it's trying to find that balance that we play a role in. In the last 12 to 14 months, we've seen significant acceleration in inflation. In some of our markets, we have hyperinflation, and to such an extent that we've never seen it, like 35 to 40%. It's not as high as what you see in Zimbabwe, but 35 to 40% is a significant increase in inflation. For CCBA, on the one hand, it means helping the consumers and to shield the consumers from the cost increases we are facing across our value chain. And on the other hand, it means supporting livelihoods and create opportunities across our value chain. We are very well aware that pricing is a very sensitive play for our consumer base, and we are also very sensitive to that. And therefore, we've adopted a medium to a long-term play around how we look at pricing to balance affordability with the cost increases that we face on a day-to-day basis to make sure that we have a product that's relevant for our consumer base. Our strategy is to leverage other levers before we move into the world of price. And in here, we're looking at efficiencies around manufacturing and distribution, and other opportunities across our value chain to streamline and make it more optimal. We really are looking and seeking at the most possible opportunities to improve productivity before we look at price. And we are an organization that's not dependent on price to drive profitability or to generate profitability. Our goal is to generate or develop a most efficient value chain where we will take price, but the most efficient value chain so that we can stay relevant in our minds of our consumers. And we've certainly become far more productive and efficient and optimal over the last couple of years. CCBA is a formation in 2016 out of a multiple bottlers with different ownerships. And as these ownerships came together, you can imagine there was a whole hordes of different value chains and different structures, different philosophies that we had to bed down. When it comes to creating shared opportunity, we see significant opportunity in the creation and the scaling of a circular economy in the world of waste. This has obviously combined benefits of reducing waste in the environment, but then also creating significant opportunities for employment across our footprint. One of the key things for us to do is to connect the unemployed women and youth and bring them into the circular economy as they're part of the informal economy, and to provide them with a very strong economic inclusion. Now, the circular economy promotes the reuse and recycling of plastics and products that we use, but it also helps us to minimize the waste and the pollution that we see on a day-to-day basis. This offers us the unique opportunity to collect post-consumer waste in Africa and effectively keep plastics in use for longer, but keep them out of the environment as well. As you know, Africa is an unusually large informal economy, and the World International Labour Organization estimated 83% of employment is happening in the informal sector. And this includes a vast network of waste collectors across our footprint who collects and sort recyclable plastic on a day-to-day basis. And this is a key component for us in the circular economy, and it helping us to be able to collect this, and it generates employment, and it helps cleaning the environment from plastic waste. We are integrating these plastic waste collectors in a sustainable value chain that helps them to collect and source plastic waste, and then we provide them with training, equipment, as well as financial support to give them a reliable income so that they can improve their working conditions and bringing the marginalized communities into that value chain. So we really believe that this provides us with an incredible strong opportunity, not only to clean the environment, but to provide employment through a circular economy through Africa. Let me give you a couple examples to make it a bit more tangible. In Mozambique, we've developed and invested in 5 big collectors across the country. They each have their own separate collectors, and we've managed to collect 10 tons a day more plastic in these countries. And what we do with this plastic is we take it to collector centers or aggregators, and we either bale them or we cut them into smaller flakes, and then that's actually, from Mozambique perspective, it's sent back to South Africa to go into a recycling program. Another example, before I forget as well, we've developed or trained 3,000 women in the safety and health environment, as well as providing with them business skills and business understanding so that they can build their own businesses, and I'm going to share some of that with you as well. So as we speak today, we have about 37,000 people that's collecting waste in Mozambique, 37,000 people in Mozambique that is directly dependent on the waste collection process that we've set up in Mozambique as a country. So we're really proud of that as a step. Also meet Miriam Nanzazi. Miriam is in Kampala, Uganda. She's a 45-year-old woman with 7 kids that's been collecting waste for a period of 12 years. Every morning she gets up at 6 o'clock after her morning prayers, and she and 4 of her team are collecting or sourcing, going through all the material to be able to sort out the plastic that's reusable and versus the ones that's not. She's got more than 20 waste collectors that goes out on a day-to-day basis, collect the plastic, bring it back to her, and effectively then she takes it to the business that we've set up. It's called Plastic Recycling Industries. It's run by us in Uganda, where we bale and also put these plastic into flakes to be used for the recycling process. So a very clear, strong success story, but also more importantly, she's put her kids through school and built a house through the work that she's been doing around the plastic recycling, and a very proud businesswoman in doing that as well. Another example is Joshua, also in Uganda. Joshua's in Entebbe. He's much younger. He's 23 years old. He starts his day at 8 o'clock. He works over different zones in Entebbe in collecting. Every week he collects 2 tons of plastic and takes it to our recycling company, where we then cut it into flakes and we wash that. So these two examples of scaling the circular economy through plastic collection and recycling creates a long way of picking up the unemployment and addressing the unemployment, but also helping us to clean the environment across our footprint. You'll probably ask, so what about South Africa? In South Africa, we have 3 different focus areas. We focus very much on a deposit return scheme, so the returnable bottles that you see in the outlets. We have packaging partnership relationships that we formed, and then we have collection models in countries around South Africa that we utilize. And the approach is really around a voluntary collection and recycling model, which is funded by a levy. Now, that levy is introduced by ourselves. So you can actually see that as a kind of a tax on ourselves to be able to fund the value chain in waste collection and recycling, to put value into it so that we can build that scale and can then develop that value chain so to create value, but clean the environment, and it's doing so we create employment for our people. Unlike a traditional linear economy, the circular economy extracts maximum value by reuse and recycling and actually using the material as long as possible. One of our key focus areas is to invest in the infrastructure, and we're exploring also investment in additional and increasing capacity in recycling manufacturers across the region to help us fulfill our role and objective. These investments help us to increase the recycled content in plastic bottle, but also help us to increase the demand for recycling bottles, and then effectively help us to increase the collection of plastic bottles that you see in the environment. One of the most valuable interventions that we've seen in the South African context is the Extended Producer Responsibility, or EPR. And this is a viable driver of a circular economy through policies and guidelines. And the EPR model is a post-consumer model, a post-consumer waste model, where we collect waste by our collectors and municipalities. We take it to aggregators, and from the aggregators it goes to recyclers. Coca-Cola and like-minded industries created Petco in 2004. We started operating in 2005, and we took responsibility and accountability to collect the plastic that was in the environment and put them through a process so that we can get to a recycling of plastic bottles that we put into the environment. And this obviously comes with significant investment. As I mentioned, the levy that we've introduced has helped to fund this process and to help us scale and build this. So through this effective industry partnership, we have implemented voluntary EPR functions and structures across the continent. So we had 4 of our markets now, South Africa, Kenya, Ethiopia, and Tanzania. We have this EPR model in operation, and it's running incredibly well, and Uganda to be rolled out very soon. This model has been very successful for us. So 2005, we started with Petco. We started collecting 9,000 tons of plastic. We're now at 83,000 tons. I wish it was million. 83 million kilograms. 83,000 tons of plastic with Petco, which is a really achievement and something that the South African government has bought into, and they also made the EPR solution a mandatory solution in the South African context. But building on this success, we're also working with regional bodies like NEPAD, SADC, and other regional bodies to be able to help us roll out the EPR model across these markets where we can collect and recycle this plastic waste. The other promising development is that the Coca-Cola company is participating in a negotiation and a UN treaty based on a legal binding rules and regulations, so we can make this applicable across the globe and providing a very strong circular on the circular economy for plastic waste. The first meeting happened in Paris earlier this year, and the member countries were very positive about this development. The second meeting is happening now in Nairobi in Kenya in November, and we're looking forward to a far better traction in this space so we can keep our environment clean. So how's this working towards a world without waste in CCBA? At CCBA, we have a very strong commitment to invest in our planet as well as in our packaging, and this to help make the world packaging free or waste free from a plastic perspective. The Coca-Cola company announced in 2018 a sustainable waste initiative, which was called World Without Waste, and we are partnering with them in this space. And in that process, we are reimagining our packaging to make it better for our planet and our business. We are reducing the amount of plastic in our bottles. The plastic bottle that you see on the screen is Sprite. If you used to drink Sprite, you would have seen the bottle being green in color. We've made it now see-through, and that's helping us to create more value in the recycling process and also helping us to make it a better recycled product for us at the end. And it's unfortunate we don't have that bottle here today, but the 500 ml Bon Aqua bottle water that you buy is 100% made out of recycled content, which we are very proud of. And we're hoping to increase this recycled content as we're going through and forward. We've also started in the back end of 2019 and introduced a 2-liter returnable PET bottle to reduce the impact of plastic waste in the environment. The second pillar for us is around the collection of plastic. And here we have a very strong commitment with the Coca-Cola company to collect a bottle or a can for everyone we put into the environment by 2030. So to be able to do this 100% collection, we are bringing people together to help us do that so that we can create this very strong circular economy. So regardless of where plastic comes, we really believe and live that we want every package to have more than one life. And we want to make sure that the extended producer responsibility is fully catered for and rolled out so that we can create a very strong value chain in this plastic waste environment. And thirdly, we're partnering with communities and industry to clean up existing packaging. We're bringing lots of people together to do river cleanups, sea or ocean cleanups, and use local communities to help us do that. We're also investing in the environment or in communities to encourage people to recycle more, also help them to understand why to recycle, where to recycle, and how to recycle. We work with a lot of government organizations, NGOs across our footprint to be able to get that message through. We're working with critics of ours, and we're working with our competitors as well, and with other FMCG companies to provide scale in this space so that we can create a far bigger impact in collecting waste. So we're also rethinking our bottles design, how we collect them, we recycle them, and also how we purposefully use them or how we repurpose them in our world without waste. And we've made very clear, concrete objectives and commitments that's out in the public domain, which I'll share with you. And the first one is, for every bottle or can we put into the market, we want to collect a bottle or can. So 100% recyclable collection and recyclable by the end of 2030. The second one is making sure that all our packaging are recyclable by the 2025. And then also by 2030 to make sure that the packaging is reusable, so increase the level of or the quantity of refillable bottles that we use across our footprint. We certainly recognize the importance of supporting the total collection and recycling, as well as building a sustainable value chain that starts with the waste collectors to the recyclers in our countries and in our value chain. But we also do know that we cannot do this alone. And we always say that the recycling or collection starts at home, but we would like to work with like-minded bodies, other stakeholders across our value chain, and other stakeholders outside our value chain so that we can create the required scale, efficiency, and build a very strong circular economy across our footprint.